Thanks, Philip, and thank you for joining us today. Hope you're having a great weekend. My goal with the show is to interview our community leaders that help make Putnam County a great place to live, work, and raise our families. First segment of today's show is about a terrible disease affecting millions of Americans, which is Alzheimer's. My guests today are the experts in our community, Lynn, Drew, and Melanie Hendricks from Alzheimer's Tennessee. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thanks for being on the show and talking about this disease. I was shocked by the stats that you sent me as we're preparing for the show. 5.7 million Americans affected by Alzheimer's. 100,000 Tennesseans alone. For our listeners, let's talk first about what is this disease? What does it do? How does it affect the body?
Right. Well, thanks for having us on the show today. Alzheimer's disease is a detrimental disease not only to the individual but also the family. It's a progressive disease that impacts the brain, destroying memory and thinking skills, and then it eventually inhibits the ability to carry out the simplest task of everyday living.
We probably, each of us, we either have a family member, a friend, or we know someone that has this terrible disease. The impact on it to our society is unbelievable, just in medical care cost, isn't it?
It is. We're seeing this obviously is increasing each year because as our population gets older, there's going to be more people impacted with Alzheimer's. And if you look at the cost, we're expected to see somewhere in the neighborhood, it averages about $215,000 for a family through the course of caring for an Alzheimer's patient. And the projections are by 2050 that the cost to the country will be $1 trillion.
That's unbelievable. We don't have a cure, right? I mean, there's medications out there that kind of helps with the
Right.
disease.
Right. The medications, they can help treat and slow down the progress, treat some of the symptoms, manage some of the symptoms, but currently there is no cure.
Let's talk about the symptoms. How would you know if you have this disease? What are some of the symptoms, Lynn?
Some of your symptoms are, of course, your loss of memory, your everyday things may not come as natural to you. You may get turned around as to where you're going. You may have poor judgment, like giving excessive amounts of money to solicitors, things like that. Changes in your mood or personality. You may be fatigued. That may be normal, but your everyday job or your everyday routine, someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, they may just be totally wiped out by the end of the day and kind of start doing some sundowning, what we call disorientation, forgetting, which day of the week or why you entered a room. We've all done that before.
That's not Alzheimer's.
That is not. That is
I was
normal.
going to say, I'm in trouble if it is.
Right. That
Never
is
gets worse.
normal. But if you're on the way to church,
Yeah.
somewhere you typically go every week maybe,
Yes.
and you suddenly can't find your way home or to church, things like that.
That's
those
a
are
bad
warning
sign.
signs. Yes.
So is it easily diagnosed? Are doctors able to easily diagnose it?
Not really, and the one thing that with Alzheimer's is there's a list of symptoms, but it's kind of different for everyone. And you can go and see a doctor, and there's a number of tests that they can take you through, but ultimately it gets down to things like MRIs and diagnosing it like that. So it's not something that you can just diagnose easily.
Is there age limits on the disease? I mean, can a 30-year-old person get the disease?
There are cases where people that young have had it, and I think one person that everybody's been real familiar with that lost the battle to Alzheimer's a few years ago was Pat Summitt.
Right.
And she was young, in her 50s when she first was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and hers progressed pretty quickly. The statistics say that it increases for every year over 65, the chances of getting Alzheimer's increases quite a bit.
So as we age,
Yes.
our chances increase.
Yes.
That
Yes.
we're going to have Alzheimer's, dementia, some kind of brain disorders that
Right.
affect us as
Yes.
we get older. I had a friend that had Alzheimer's, and for several years, he was treated with medication. And there are some good medications out that help with the symptoms. Could not tell that he had the disease. As he got older, though, in the later years, he did exactly what you were talking about earlier. He'd be driving down the road and he would forget where he's going or how to get back home,
Right.
which got his family, what tipped them off then that the disease was getting worse. But are there risk factors as far as is there things that we are doing or things we're not doing that makes it our chances greater for having the disease?
There are numerous risk factors, of course. Maintaining a healthy diet and managing your blood pressure, cholesterol, things like that. Controlling type 2 diabetes, quitting smoking, getting treatment for depression and sleep problems. All of those are things. It takes many years for Alzheimer's disease to develop. It develops over many years. The age is, of course, the most important number one risk factor. There's also family history, diet, exercise, some of your lifestyle changes also
Melanie,
affect.
is hereditary, is any of this hereditary, do we think? So if my mother or grandmother or parents, somebody had this disease, are my chances greater of having it?
There is an hereditary component to it. It's hard, right now I don't think there's any test that can be done to predict that, but it does seem to run in families. So there is a hereditary component because, for example, my husband, I lost him to Alzheimer's, and he was the poster child for exercise, diet, and all of that, and no one would have ever thought that was what was going to take him. So it had to be some hereditary influence. I talked to a lady yesterday at this expo that had a family. There were 11 children, and 7 of them have Alzheimer's now.
Oh, that's terrible. 7 of the 11 children, so that makes you think that there is something to the hereditary
Yes.
part of it as far as getting disease. We're talking about Alzheimer's, and we've got our special guest today with us, that Lynn and Melanie Hendricks from Alzheimer's Tennessee. You're listening to Today in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. More with these ladies when we come back after this quick break. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great weekend. My guests today are Lynn and Melanie Hendricks with Alzheimer's Tennessee, and we're talking about this terrible disease. Ladies, tell us a little bit about Alzheimer's Tennessee and the services that this group provides.
Sure. Alzheimer's Tennessee was founded in 1983 by a group of Tennessee families. They were in Knoxville, and then we've branched out from there. Just professionals and families getting together to help families and individuals understand the effects of Alzheimer's, and also to provide services and programs for the families to assist them be with them every step of the way. Some of those programs that we offer are family counseling. We have lots of families that come into the office or call us, and Melanie and I will talk with them. We'll sit down with them. Sometimes they just need someone to listen, to suggest, different care partners. We have lots of wonderful care partners over the 14 counties that we serve out of our office. I also would like to mention that Alzheimer's Tennessee is statewide. We have offices across the state. And all of those offices provide numerous programs, education and resource referrals. We have lots of pamphlets and brochures in our office that have lots of great information on them. Something newer for us are our Caregiver Academy videos online. I think we're up to around 30 videos online. And there's all different types of topics where people can just go online from the comforts of their home or their office and watch little short clip videos of different information that they can get online.
We're very fortunate to have an office in Cookeville and Putnam County to be able to deal with this. Melanie, you have personal experience. You lost your husband to this disease. Sometimes it's terrible on the patient, but it's terrible on the family also. You've got a workshop coming up with, you call it caring and coping for the family members. Can you tell us about that?
We have a workshop that's coming up the 14th of November. It'll be at Life Church. And it's about 5-6 hours. And it's aimed at, it's got 3 major components. One, we have a physician to talk about the medical aspects. One, we have a lady that's talking about just being a caregiver. And then we have a lawyer that will be speaking about all the legal aspects, because this is a road that once you start down with a family member, if you don't have everything legally set like you need it, it may be too late to fix it. So we'll have all of that available, and it's a great resource. I actually, the first one that I was acquainted with was about 5 years ago. No, maybe longer than that. My husband's been gone 4 years, and he was in his kind of middle stages of Alzheimer's, and I went to the Caring and Coping as just a family caregiver and sat through it, and it helped me a lot to understand how to deal with him, to deal with the challenges, and to manage our way through the last few years.
And as you said earlier, Lynn, and I know with you dealing with it, Melanie, that having someone to talk to, someone that knows about the disease, someone that's went through the disease before, that can mean everything, because it's hard to talk about something that you haven't experienced before, as much as you may know about the topic. You're able to do that, though, with these people, right?
It makes a lot of difference to be able to sit down with somebody, and when they're talking about what they're going through, then I can relate to them, that I know exactly what you're going through. Even though it's a little different, I was down that same road with my husband, who was 74 when he passed away, and we probably dealt with the disease for 8 years, and I think we were aware of what we were dealing with for about 4, so there was 4 years you kind of wondered what's going on, why is he so grouchy and doing things that's not normal.
Yeah, uncommon for him. You've got a big event coming up. I want to make sure we get this in.
We do.
November the 2nd, it's the Alzheimer's Walk. Can you tell us a little bit about that, where it's going to be at and all the particulars?
I can, and I would also like to thank you for being one of our honorary co-chairs.
I was so
along
honored
with
to be
Ricky
asked.
Shelton. We're very happy that you two are being our honorary co-chairs this year.
Well, you're welcome. We appreciate you asking us, and we all support you 100%, Rick and I both, and we want to support you with this walk, and this is one of your big events each year, right?
It is. This is our major fundraiser for the year, that helps support all of the programs and services that we offer. We will be at Avery Trace Middle School. Registration will kick off at 9 a.m. We'll have an opening ceremonies at 10. The actual ribbon cutting and walk will begin at 11. We'll have lots of kids activities, live music, free food, a bounce house for the kids. The Piston Car Club will be there having a car cruise
If it's
in.
not raining.
Right. If it's raining, they won't bring their cars out. But it's just a great morning for everyone to get together and to walk to make Alzheimer's a memory.
So Melanie, tell people how they can get involved in this if they want to be involved in the walk.
There's a couple of ways. You can call our office at 931-526-8010. You can get on our website, which is alzheimerstennessee.org, and there is a link to the walk. You can sign up to be there, or you can show up on Saturday morning and be there. Anyone that makes a donation of $50 will qualify for a free t-shirt. If that's done by Friday. We have a deadline on getting those, but it's a nice incentive. We've got quite a few teams that are already signed up. So a lot of organizations will come as a team. My family, we do a family team in memory of my husband, and quite a few people do that. So you can get involved like that.
Well, that's great. And these folks, a lot of these folks, their families or friends have been affected by this terrible disease. And to be able to provide the services that you do to our community, you've got to have funds to do it. You're a 501c3, right?
We are.
Nonprofit. All the money you collect goes to help fight this and provide the services. Do you think we'll ever have a cure for this?
We're very hopeful. Part of our funding does go toward research, and we're very hopeful. That's why we do what we do every day.
There's some good research going on at University of Tennessee Medical Center, the Pat Head Summit Foundation. Vanderbilt's got some key research going on, so we're really hopeful that at some point in time that will be, and they have come out with drugs in the last few years that at least slows the progression.
Please keep doing what you're doing. We're so thankful that we have you and your group and your organization in our community to be able to help folks to cope with this disease, even though we may not have a cure for it yet. There's always hope that we will someday, and we've got to keep fighting and keep trying. So thank you for all you do for our community. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thanks for all of your support.
You're welcome. Miss Lynn Drew and Miss Melanie Hendricks with Alzheimer's Tennessee. Check out on November the 2nd. They've got their big walk at Avery Trace. You're listening to The Day in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter, your host. Coming up after the break, County Commission Chairman Mr. Ben Rodgers as we talk about the new Fairgrounds and Expo Center property. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great weekend. My next guest is County Commission Chairman Ben Rodgers. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Randy.
The Commission's been looking at a new location for a new Expo Center and Fairgrounds for the past 3 or 4 years. We made history the other night. We had the old racetrack property at Baxter that we've been looking at. Commission decided that they didn't want it to be that far out. They wanted it to be closer in to Cookville. We wound up with a $150 million project called Portobello, a new luxury tile company on that property. So I don't believe anything happens by accident. I think that was meant to be. But history was made Monday night with the County Commission with a purchase. Can you tell us about that?
The County Commission voted 21 to 2 and 1 absent, so 21 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 absent, to buy 187 acres off the 5th interchange near Interstate 40 at $27,000 an acre for multiple reasons. Mainly the discussion was to eventually move the fairgrounds to that property. Maybe and hopefully, if the commission decides, Expo Center, Event Center, a big midway, all kinds of things to attract more events other than the fair throughout the year. You know, your hopes to have it, something going on almost every weekend there. And then with land to spare. And the land to spare is that we don't know for sure. We know what the options are. You could have another fire station. You could move the bus garage there. You have some property there that's off the interchange that may be for industrial recruitment. We just don't really know where we're going with it for sure, but we know we have plenty of options, and that's what we wanted. And if I don't thank you, I would be not doing my job. Thank you for the work you did, because you've been at this 3 years. You could have given up. The commission could have said, "Well, we're over it. Let's stay status quo. We'll just keep having the fair there, keep having the events that are, we're restricted to what we can have there.
Yeah.
Can't have big shows or trade shows or car shows or anything, gun shows, whatever we desire to have. We can't have it now. Don't have the room. I think we had a bunch of cavers come a few weeks ago and had to set up tents.
The biggest tent I think I've ever
for them to sleep
been
under.
around. Yeah, and
So-
had been for the high school and Tennessee Tech, we wouldn't have got that group,
Exactly.
1,200 people.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because it's the partnership you just mentioned between Board of Education and Tennessee Tech University, the Chamber, the County Commission, the City Council. That's why Putnam County's thriving.
Absolutely.
And that's what helped this commission make that decision, because we've been thriving, we've been growing, we don't want to stop right now. It's going to be $5 million, lower $5 million purchase, but we will, we'll definitely reap the rewards, especially when we sell the current fairgrounds. And, we don't know what we're going to bring in. You said it appraised at what, 10 million?
10.1 million was the low end.
Low end. I think it's low end.
12.5, 13 million is probably the more of an average or
So
high end.
that pays for all the 187 acres, and then gives us, $5 to $8 million to do what we want to with that property.
And that's the key to this is that this location that our old fairgrounds is at now, that's like the 4th or 5th location. That's not where it started out at.
No.
And so as our city and county grows, we've got to grow with it. And having that prime piece of property sitting downtown in the middle of all the commercial around it is just doesn't make a lot of sense now. So we're looking in the future, the commission's looking out 10, 15, 20 years out in the future, that if we continue to grow like we have, the 5th interchange is going to grow, and it's going to be a good location. I've been looking, as you said, for over 3 years for property. I don't think folks understand how hard it is to find 187 acres that has the utilities, the infrastructure, roads, visibility, access, and that doesn't have some major environmental issues with sinkholes and all the kind of things we have to deal with up here on the plateau. Very difficult.
Right.
And you hear some folks say, well, $27,000 an acre is high. If you think that's high, you hadn't been pricing property lately.
Right.
That is one of the cheaper prices that I have found, and I have absolutely no doubt looked at over 100 parcels of property over the last 3 years. That is one of the cheapest parcels that I was able to find. Now, there was others that were a little cheaper, but they had so many issues that they just wouldn't work. So it's very difficult to find land. They're not making any more of it. And so this was a great deal. And for the Sheraton property to come into place, this property has road frontage along Tennessee Avenue. We're talking about
2,000 square feet?
Yeah, we're talking about Tennessee Avenue, the new 5th interchange. Just get off the interchange, headed back over to Highway 70. It's land on both sides of the road. They're on the right and the left. It's just an amazing piece to have. This kind of fell in our lap at the last minute. Thanks go out to the Sheraton family for being willing to drop the price down tremendously to allow the county to have that property, because they want to see this Expo Center and Event Center and Fairgrounds and everything be built down in that area to spark economic development at the 5th interchange. We're not spending tax dollars on this.
No.
We're looking at selling the old Fairgrounds, 35.5 acres, to pay for this. That was a big part, don't you think, of the commission, almost a unanimous vote on it?
I think so, because, we raised taxes back in July, and we, for different reasons, and some of the commissioners did not want to raise taxes to pursue property, even though they knew we could grow from it and provide more for people in this area, though, for Conway. And I'm not sure everybody knows, our debt service is where we pay for things we borrow, principal and interest.
Right.
We'll first borrow the money, because we just don't have $5 million in, well, actually, we do have $5 million in cash, but we don't want to spend it all right now to pay for it. But our hopes is within a year or two is to sell the fairground property and any other property, maybe across the street where the bus garage is, maybe sell that as well. So that was, to me, that was the key, is to let our commissioners know and our taxpayers know and our citizens, we're not using your property tax money to pay for this. We're hoping, and we will sell that property. There's going to be interest there. And what they may not realize is right now we're not receiving property taxes on that because it's ours.
No revenue whatsoever coming from the property.
We don't charge ourselves for property. However, when somebody else buys it, then property taxes, if it's retail, sales tax, whatever it may be, it's going to start coming in. So it's going to more than pay for itself.
And we're looking at what we call the Shoney's Hill property, where the school bus garage and county highway department is located, plus several other acres, about 38 acres there. The old stockyard property that just sold last year, 2.1 million for 3.2 acres. It's about $680-something thousand an acre. If we sell that property alone, that property could bring enough to buy this property alone.
Sure.
And then have the fairgrounds property, if we sell it for the 10, 12, 13, whatever it wound up bringing, and it could actually pay for all the buildings and everything, and this could be a cash-free thing that we pay for everything out of the sales of the property. Do you think that's a good idea to go ahead and look at selling that other property?
I think so. I mean, I'm one of 24 and one of 13 to get something passed, but I think we start as soon as we can, because we initially will borrow the money, but the interest rates are so low, we're not going to be out too much interest cost. But the longer we wait to sell, the longer we're paying interest. And, we can pay it off as soon as we sell the property and pursue both pieces, the bus garage and where the highway department is. And if that brings in enough to pay for the property, then we got at least $10 million to do what we want to with to make that property. And the Sheridan property, as you said, tied in perfectly with the Nash Medley property. It joined it, and it's just like one big piece now. It couldn't have worked out any better.
I know folks have a lot of memories of the old fairground property where it is today, and I'm sure the people before them had memories of when it was on Maple, and memories before when it was on Washington, and memories when it was over at Tech on the quad. I didn't realize that until the other day when Fair Board President John Allen was telling us about it. We'll make memories at this new location, I think.
Absolutely.
And as new generations come on. And we we're looking to the future.
Mhm.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Planning for the future for our
It is.
county.
Yeah, and for counties to be better, you know, change might be required, but improving, to me, improvement is the key. It's not always about change, but it's more about improving. And when you can improve, all you're doing is making your quality of life better for the citizens.
That's right, and your leadership, I want to thank you for your leadership as commission chairman. You've been involved with this for the last year as the chairman with me, looking at properties and trying to come up with a place for this. Worked very hard, and I want to thank you for your leadership in doing that. I think that as we go forward, and I think you feel the same way, that this is going to be a great thing for the county, and a great thing for that end of the county as the growth moves in the direction. I think someday, and do you feel that Baxter and Cook will see limits maybe meeting
They
someday?
may be meeting. It's going that way, and that's okay with us. We're looking forward to the growth and the improvements.
Thanks, Ben, for your leadership. Ben Rodgers, he is the chairman currently of the Putnam County Commission, as they made history Monday night in buying the 187 acres down on Tennessee Avenue for a new Expo Center, Fairgrounds, and so forth. That's our show for today. I want to thank my guests, Lynn, Melanie, Hendricks, and Ben Rodgers, for being here. Hope you'll join us every Saturday morning at 10:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2 for Today in Putnam County on News Talk 107.7 and 1400 The Hub. You can also download the WHUB app and listen to us on your cell phone. If you missed any of our shows, go to my website at randyporter.org. As always, thanks to Brent Carl Fleshman for producing my show each week. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. Hoping you have a great rest of your weekend, and may God continue to bless our great county.